Victor Langston had everything a man could want: fortune, fame, and a glass tower office overlooking the skyline. But beneath the sharp suits and steel confidence was a man who rarely trusted and never wasted time on people he considered beneath his station. His mansion, nestled in the quiet hills outside the city, bustled with staff who worked like silent gears in a grand machine. Yet one person broke through his emotional indifference: Maria. She was the maid who never spoke unless spoken to, yet her presence lingered like a melody in a quiet room. She wasn't flashy or fast. She worked with gentle precision, her motions filled with quiet grace. Victor noticed how she wiped not just the center of tables, but the corners, how she tucked small notes of encouragement under pillows for the nanny's children. Her kindness was effortless, never loud, and always anonymous. Victor first truly paid attention to her one afternoon as she cleaned his study. She didn't know he was standing behind the half-open door observing. She dusted his framed achievements with a careful hand, but paused on one: his first newspaper feature. "You were someone before you were rich," she whispered under her breath with a wistful smile. That moment haunted him. Most people in his world saw his money, not the man. But somehow this quiet woman had seen more. It wasn't long after that when Victor noticed something else. Every day after her shift, Maria refused the offered staff transport. Instead, she slipped out the side gate with a small cloth bag, her shoulders slightly hunched as if carrying invisible burdens. One evening, rain poured hard against the windows. He watched as she left without an umbrella, disappearing down the road, soaked within seconds. Why didn't she ask for help? Why wouldn't she accept the simplest comfort? His curiosity, once idle, now burned with quiet intensity. Maria became a mystery Victor couldn't shake. In boardrooms, her image lingered at the edge of his thoughts. He had met CEOs and billionaires, but none left an impression like the maid with kind eyes who folded towels into swans and disappeared without a trace. Something about her silence spoke louder than the polished voices around him. And one night, without telling anyone, Victor made a decision that would change his life. He would follow her. Not to intrude, but to understand. And what he'd soon discover would shatter everything he thought he knew. Victor had never done something so impulsive in his life. Yet as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned a pale, moody blue, he found himself dressed in plain clothes. No tailored suit, no luxury watch. Sitting in his black SUV parked just beyond the mansion gates. The staff had left and Maria, like clockwork, exited through the side path with her cloth bag over one shoulder. She didn't notice the car trailing far behind her, nor the man whose life was defined by spreadsheets and strategy, now navigating backstreets like a private detective. She walked with purpose, not hesitation. Each step faster than the last, as if racing against something only she could see. The route she took surprised him. Through winding streets lined with shuttered shops, then deeper into the older part of the city, where buildings leaned tiredly against one another. Victor's eyes took in the cracked sidewalks, the flickering streetlights, the graffiti-tagged walls. Here his name meant nothing. This was a world far from gated communities and penthouses. Maria didn't pause once. After nearly 3 miles, she entered a dilapidated apartment building, whose bricks looked like they hadn't been washed in decades. Victor parked discreetly and watched from across the street. From a darkened hallway window, he saw her climb 5 flights of stairs and knock gently on a door at the end of the hallway. An elderly woman answered, coughing harshly. Maria stepped in and embraced her with such tenderness that Victor's chest tightened. Moments later, the light in the window flicked on, and shadows danced against the thin curtain as Maria moved around inside, cooking, cleaning, tending. An hour passed. Then 2. When Maria finally emerged, her face was pale, her eyes red from crying, and her shoulders slumped as if the weight of the world pressed down on them. She didn't notice Victor watching as she disappeared back down the street, now under moonlight. Victor sat there, frozen, overwhelmed by what he'd witnessed. This woman, who worked in silence, who smiled gently at others while carrying no signs of bitterness, was enduring a life of hardship in silence. She gave so much and asked for nothing. And for the first time in years, Victor Langston felt something shift inside him: guilt, humility, and a deep, unfamiliar need to make things right. The following day, Victor couldn't focus. The gleaming glass of his office windows no longer inspired pride. It all felt hollow. The luxury, the success, the prestige. What did it mean if someone like Maria struggled just a few miles away without anyone noticing? He canceled meetings and drove straight back to that run-down apartment building. This time, he didn't wait in the shadows. With a deep breath and a rare flicker of uncertainty, he climbed the creaking stairs and knocked on the door. Maria had entered the night before. It opened cautiously. An older woman with sunken eyes and silver-streaked hair peeked through. Victor gently introduced himself, explaining that he knew Maria from work and that he wasn't there to cause harm. The woman hesitated, then slowly opened the door. Inside, the apartment was small, dim, and smelled faintly of menthol and soup. Worn furniture lined the walls, and old family photos hung crookedly. This was not a place of comfort. It was survival. The woman, Segura Rivera, was Maria's mother. Her English was rough, but her warmth was immediate. With trembling hands, she poured him tea and shared Maria's story in fragmented sentences and watery eyes. Maria had once been a top student, full of dreams to become a teacher. But after her father was suddenly deported during a late-night immigration raid, everything collapsed. Maria had been just 17. Overnight, she became the breadwinner. She gave up school, took on cleaning jobs, cared for her sick mother, and supported her younger brother who was still studying. Her every decision made from sacrifice. Victor sat still, the tea untouched in his hands, his heart thudding with shame. He thought of the petty complaints his guests made. The towels not folded right, the wine chilled too long, and Maria, working through grief, poverty, and pain, still smiling as she scrubbed his marble floors. All without ever once asking for help. He left the apartment changed. The weight of Maria's story pressed heavily on his chest. It was more than just poverty. It was a quiet dignity, a resilience he had never known. That night, Victor walked through the empty halls of his mansion, each luxurious corner now echoing with discomfort. He had seen the truth, and the truth had broken him open. Something inside him whispered that he couldn't ignore this. He wouldn't. The next morning, Maria entered the mansion as she always did, early, silent, and unnoticed. But something was different. As she moved to tidy the main hall, a butler approached her with an unfamiliar tone and said, "Mr. Langston would like to see you in his office." Her heart fluttered. Had she done something wrong? Had someone complained? Anxiety tightened in her chest as she made her way to the top floor, clutching her cleaning cloth like a lifeline. Victor stood when she entered. He wasn't wearing a suit. There was no coldness in his expression. Instead, his face carried a weight she didn't understand yet, a mixture of guilt and awe. "Maria," he began gently, "please sit." She obeyed, her hands fidgeting in her lap. Then he slid a folder across the desk toward her. "I owe you an apology and a thank you." Confused, she opened the folder. Her eyes scanned the papers slowly, full tuition documents for her brother's university, a new apartment lease signed in her mother's name, and a formal promotion letter to a senior position in Victor's personal charitable foundation. Maria blinked in disbelief, her lips trembling. "I don't understand," she whispered. Victor leaned forward. "I followed you. I needed to know who you were beyond these walls. And what I saw changed me. You've given more than anyone here ever could. And you did it with humility, grace, and strength. I didn't see you before, but now I do, and I can't look away." The tears filled Maria's eyes. She shook her head, overcome. "I never wanted pity." "This isn't pity," he said softly. "It's recognition. You taught me what wealth really means." From that day forward, Maria's life transformed, not just with comforts, but with purpose. She became a key part of Victor's charitable outreach, helping redesign programs for working-class families and immigrants. Her voice, once quiet and hidden, became a guiding light. And Victor, he stopped chasing headlines and profits and began investing in people, in stories like Maria's. Though their worlds had once been distant, a single act of curiosity bridged the gap. Maria didn't just change Victor's heart, she gave it direction. In the end, the millionaire, who thought he had everything discovered what he was truly missing through the heart of the maid, who never asked for more than a chance to serve with dignity.